Welcome to Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I am here with my lovely wife, Dr. Alicia. How you doing today, babe?
I'm doing great. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. I'm curious. I'm really curious to know how many of y'all can hear us out there. Sometimes we always have to do our audio check before
Mic
we get
check.
started. Microphone check 1 2 1 2. Microphone check. Can you guys let us know? Give us a yes in the chat if you can hear us. Okay. Shout out the city that you're from. Let us know what city you're from, or you can put the name of your business. We support black-owned business up in here, and let's just I guess get started. As
hmm
everybody lets us know if you can hear us, that way we can know if we can keep going. All right. So okay, thank you, Stern. Stern is the first person that lets us.
Stern said yes. Okay.
Stern comes through. Thank you, Stern. I appreciate you. Stern Ferguson the third. He's a third. That's
That's
pretty cool.
great. That's good.
Well, you know that my biological father's name was Boyce,
Uh-huh.
and my great grandfather, his slave master, named him Boyce. So
Ah,
my name goes back about 200 years.
I never heard of Boyce before. Like, what an interesting name. I mean, I've seen it as a last name, but I've never heard of it as a first name.
Yeah, it's French. It means from the forest.
From the Forest Boys.
Yeah, that's why I'm so hairy.
You are Harry. Huh.
I see from the UK, Asher's out of the UK. Nice. God bless London. Well,
Wait. Top of the morning.
yeah, top of the
Is that what they
morning.
say?
Well, tea and crumpets.
Don't you know that's such a stereotype? They're way more better than
But
that.
they do drink a lot of tea in London. Come on now, they drink. They drink tea in London.
Okay.
I love Black London though. Black London, those are the most enthusiastic Black people ever. Every time I've ever had an event in London, it was always completely sold out.
We gotta
Every
do
time.
Black London
We
again.
got to go back. Yeah, yeah. It
Yeah.
was so much fun. The baby dance last time, and
She's got to come back and do another dance,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
She
Now
was like the star of the night.
she saved me.
She
Uh,
did. You had entertainment.
yeah, yeah. I know, right?
She helped you do promotion, remember?
Yeah, she did. Kids are such cheap labor.
They are.
It's
They
pretty
didn't know.
awesome, right? Get you some kids so they can work for you for nothing.
Or you
All
could
right.
get kids and get them to motivate your baby daddy to work.
Oh, yeah, which takes us to our topic today.
hmm
Phoenix out of NYC. I see you, Phoenix Davis. Yeah, so how many of you, give me a yes or no, how many of you saw the video? I put it on my Instagram. My Instagram is the real Boyce Watkins. How many of you saw the video of the single mom who kind of made an interesting statement? If you want to pull up your
I'll pull it up.
sound, yeah, so everybody can hear it. But yeah, she made an interesting statement. Give me a yes or no if you saw it. She was explaining why she did not put her child's father on child support, and it was interesting to see the reaction. Basically, it sounded to me like she felt that it was more important that her child's father, you know, be doing well economically so that they could co-parent better together. And I saw a lot of people applauding her in the chat, and I saw some people not applauding the behavior,
hmm
because she kind of, it was interesting. How about you just play the audio?
Okay.
Because and then that way we can't play the video because we can't get it into the system. But I want you all to hear her audio. That's her image on the screen. But I want you to hear what she said. And I want and I thought that my relationship therapist wife, might have some interesting thoughts about this. So why don't we play this? Go
Okay,
ahead.
let me play it. Let me see if I
Go
can
ahead.
get it
Take
going.
my son's father off of child support because it was causing turmoil in our co-parenting relationship. Recently, I looked up a few places for him to get his CDL so that he could possibly start his own trucking company, or he can even carry loads and make money for himself. What I decided was, you know what, Brittany, let me change my mindset. Let me help him help us take care of our child. And that's co-parenting. Okay, so give me a yes if you all were able to hear that audio. We just played the audio, and I think we should play it again a little bit later just to
Okay.
really do a thorough, fair kind of assessment of what was stated here. And I use the term assessment loosely. I know y'all got a professional
Yeah,
definition of assessment.
we really should have a disclaimer. That
What?
what we talk about. I mean, we're professionals in our own right, but I think that like the topics that we talk about,
Mm-hmm.
it's for educational purposes only. Like this should never be a substitute for therapy.
Oh yeah, well we know.
You
I
should.
agree.
Well, I mean, some people want to put a disclaimer on there because everybody's situation is so unique and nuanced to their own situation
Hmm.
that it's good for it's educational, but it's also entertainment too, in
Yeah,
some sense.
well, it is. It is. I guess that term edutainment applies, right? Like,
Edutainment.
but the thing is, I don't want to make light of her real life situation,
Right.
and just say, oh, this is just entertainment. We're just talking about it because it's fun. No, I think it's real, right? A
Hmm.
lot of us can understand what this lady's feeling, and I think that relatability piece is massive here because
Hmm.
a lot of us, how many of you, give me a yes or no in the chat if you have dealt with baby mama, baby daddy drama. How many of you have been, are what they call survivors, survivors of baby mama, baby daddy drama? I'm going to say I am. I know, and I know that, you had your divorce, right?
Yep.
It's not baby mama drama. It's divorcee, but it's similar, right? You're talking about,
It's relationship drama.
yeah, there we go. Well, it's relationship drama with kids,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Kids involved. And you're talking
Yeah.
about kids, you're talking about money, you're talking about all kinds of, so it sounds to me like one thing that stood out in the beginning of her comment is she said that child support was causing turmoil in their
Hmm.
relationship. So him paying the child support was causing problems. I don't know if it was causing problems between those two or causing problems in his relationship with the child or what. But she said I decided to take him off child support. Did you have any thoughts about that?
Okay, so initially when I first heard it, I was like, wow, look at her. Like she's supporting him. He wants to make a change in his career and do something lucrative that will require him to invest his resources in a particular area. Hey, she great. She's a perfect model for how parents need to work together for the betterment of everybody. So I was initially really in favor of what she said. And it wasn't until last night when you mentioned it, and I listened to it the second time.
Mm. So it was the second time around that kind
The
of where you noticed the little
second time
nuances.
around.
Really? Okay, tell me about that.
Well, the second time around, there were a couple of phrases that she mentioned that I was kind of taken aback. So, first of all, she said, I took him off of child support. It was almost like I took him off of life support.
Okay,
it,
I don't.
it sounded like life support, like she just done with him. I took him off of life support. So that's what it sounded like to me in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also heard her say, I looked up and found. So she found a job for him. Like she found it for
Mm.
him.
The only time I've ever heard that
I was like, what?
and I think that's a valid critique. I heard people on Instagram. My Instagram is the real Boyce Watkins. If you want to see a conversation, there were thousands of
Oh,
comments.
was it? Okay.
And I read through them and I saw where some people said
How's she
that
gonna find?
think about that sounds like something a mother says about her son. I found him a job. Does anybody know what I'm
Yeah,
talking about?
it's inappropriate to find
Yeah,
your grown child a job, but
right,
it's
right. I mean, he's a man. He should be finding his own job. Or she said, I found him. I looked up CDL or places where he could get his CDL. I
but
mean, I'm not in any way taken away from the heroic and very altruistic act that this woman has pursued by saying, look, I want to do what's best for the child. Like if you take it for in its best intention, you could say, she's willing to do what's necessary to make sure that her child has a solid father that's doing well financially. But I don't know about everybody else in here, but my thought is if you want to get a CDL, you can look it up. If you're a grown ass man, you
it's
30,
so
40 years
easy.
old, you can get on the internet. Why she got to look it up for you? That part was kind of interesting.
Yeah, so I'm like, I gotta increase my listening skills because I just would have been one time passed through Instagram on your Instagram because it always comes up on my feed, of course. And I just kind of listened to it for a second. I went on with my day. But yeah, so we need to kind of listen to what she said. And it was something about like the tone of her conversation. Like it was something about like her voice was very forceful. It almost sounded like,
Maybe.
I'm so sick of this guy. I'm so sick of this man.
Interesting. Well, you know what? I think we should.
Causing
I think
problems.
in a second we should listen to the audio
Oh, let's
again.
listen to
No,
it
no,
again.
not yet, not yet.
Okay.
Because I want to make one more point. But we should listen to it with sort of your points in mind, right?
Okay.
And see what we pick up on, because y'all know this. I mean, this is the platform for intelligent Black people, those who either are intelligent or want to be intelligent, and want to look beneath the surface, right? So that's what our job is. Our job is not just, if we're talking about it the same thing, everybody else is talking about in the same way that everybody else is talking about it, then that we haven't done our job, in my view. So by the way, everybody, you're listening to Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. If you take 1 second, please hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Today, we are talking about this interesting video where a single mom went online and felt compelled to tell the world that she took her son off child support because she wanted to help him
Her
get a.
son's father.
Sorry, took her
We
son's
don't know
father
if
off child
she's
support. I'm sorry,
we
I
really
said
don't
son.
know if she's a single mom. She didn't say her marital status, but
That's true. Good point. Good point.
but she did. Go ahead. I just want to make that
Okay, that's a great. I
statement.
think it's a great point.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of men who breathed a sigh of relief when they saw this, because child support sucks.
How so, boys?
It sucks because the court doesn't have a heart.
What do you mean?
The court doesn't care if you. I remember going to child support court and saying, "Hey, if I'm going to pay this money, can you help me get rights to see my daughter? Like, I'd like my daughter to come live with me for part of the year." And they were like, "We don't care if you get to see your child or not. That's another court. You deal with that somewhere else."
Okay.
And
Oh, wait.
I
Hold on. Hold on. What do you mean that's another court? Like, what did they mean by that?
they just didn't help. They didn't have anything to say other than pay your money, and that
Okay.
was it. And then also they talked to me in a very disrespectful way, like I was a deadbeat. Um, and it was hard because I didn't have a lot of money to be going to court and hiring lawyers and all that. And I did hire a lawyer one time. I used my last couple of dollars, and this guy didn't add any value.
He didn't.
So the child support court, and also you had, it's like, remember the American Revolution when they had taxation without representation? Well,
Uh-huh.
a lot of fathers I've heard, and well, mothers who pay child support too would probably feel this way, where they are annoyed by the fact that they pay all this money and you don't get to decide where the money goes.
Mm-hmm.
You just and so when you write these checks, and in my case, I had a good job. I was writing big checks,
Okay.
over $1,100 a month.
As you should.
Right,
As
right.
you
So
should.
it's
Uh-huh.
really, yeah. I didn't mind doing that. I've always been taught to take care of my children. That's something I've always. My daddy wouldn't allow me to do otherwise. But it was like, it's hard when you done gave your last couple of dollars to child support, and then you see your child and your child's like, "Dad, I need $500 for whatever," and you're like, "But I gave all the money to your mom.
Mm-hmm.
Like, ask her, she's got the money, So but you can't say that to kids, right? So it's just a lot of, I think a lot of fathers feel stressed out and left out, like.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna jump in here for a second because I don't know, like you're speaking from the experience of never have married the mother, right?
Right.
You didn't marry her, did you? No.
You know I didn't marry her.
You didn't
Stop
marry
asking
her.
questions you know the answer
All
to,
right.
lady.
Yeah. So you didn't marry her. So that's a different court, I think.
Yeah, it
And
is.
so this is educational, and so I think that if you do it the other way, where you get married and then have children, and then you want to dissolve the marriage, um, whoever is the custodial parent, right? You do have child support that you receive, but there's also a parenting plan. It has to be in place.
Yeah,
Judges, I know how, I could just speak for
I
Illinois.
totally get it.
There has to be, and then there's always, like, you can always file a motion and say this person's not carrying out their parenting plan, and then it becomes like
But let's keep it real.
a big deal.
Let's
Hmm.
keep it real though. A lot of Black people just don't want to get married, and I think it's okay
Hmm.
to not get married,
It
right?
is okay to
I
not get
mean,
married.
obviously though, marriage does change how things happen. But remember also, when you're dissolving a marriage and dealing with child support, you got that added complication. So that's like,
Hmm.
complication on top of complication. So I would just say in general, child support does suck. But here's a point that I want to bring to you.
And it doesn't suck for everybody. Like, I think too, that it's just like, yeah, like, I know men who pay child support, and you're like, I pay it. It's awesome. Like I know it's going to, not every situation is always that sort of like how.
Every situation is definitely different.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
why don't you grab the video
Oh,
again?
you want to listen to
Yeah,
it
let's
again?
play it again. And so in
Okay.
case you guys want to know, we're talking today about this video that the video's on my Instagram page, the real Boyce Watkins, and it's a single mom who basically explains, why she took her son's father off child support, and we're kind of looking at the nuances, and I want everybody to listen to it again. This time we're going to play the audio. We can't play the video, but we'll play the audio of what she said, and I want you to listen. And I want you to ask yourself: do you think that she sounds in any way condescending? Do you think that this is sort of overstepping in terms of her responsibility? Do you notice some dysfunction in the just this whole layout? So go ahead. Can you play it?
Let me play it. Okay.
Yeah.
So let me.
You gotta hit the turn.
Because it was causing
All right. Let me start it from the beginning. Okay.
Yeah.
So I decided to take my son's father off of child support because it was causing turmoil in our co-parenting relationship. Recently, I looked up a few places for him to get his CDL so that he could possibly start his own trucking company, or he can even carry loads and make money for himself. What I decided was, you know what, Brittany, let me change my mindset. Let me help him help us take care of our child. And that's co-parenting. So I decided to take my...
Okay. So
She sounds so fed up.
well, you know what it sounds like?
Okay.
And I do agree. I maybe she does. She sounds like she's trying her best.
She said, "Oh Lord." She was sounding like, "Oh Lord,
Mm, I
I have exhausted
I didn't hear that.
what we."
I mean, don't get me wrong. I think everybody who goes through baby mama, baby daddy drama is to some extent a little bit scarred, right? Like exhausted. Like you go through it, and you're going back and forth with somebody, and the dysfunction, and it's tough, you
She
know.
almost sound like I get the impression that if he does not get this CDL license and he don't start this trucking company and carry this load, she is about to go off on him. Like it just sounded like she found him a job and it's like, look, you're gonna do this job and you gonna make this amount of money. Like she did all the legwork for him.
Yeah,
And it
and I'll admit I didn't like that part. I feel again my tradition in terms of manhood says, why is she doing that work for you? Because he's probably not looking up jobs for her. He's probably not going to the internet saying I'm going to go and
find this lady a
look up
job.
the requirements for my baby mama to learn how to become to bake cookies so she can open a bakery. Like, he's probably not doing it right. So let's just be clear. It sounds like she's committed herself to carrying the load,
The
right?
mental load.
Because she's already carrying the financial load. Now, here's the thing that people got to understand. This is where I'm gonna put on my finance professor hat for y'all, but you ain't got to be a finance PhD to see this. Children are expensive. There's a price to pay. The average child in America costs $250,000 to raise $250,000. So when you say, he's not paying his child support anymore, what you're now saying is, I'm paying his child support. You're saying any financial necessities for this child, the majority of them are going to be handled by me, except for the ones that come up when the child is in his care.
Mm-hmm.
So I would kind of say that I think that you got to kind of look at that and say, I, I'm not blaming her at all, right? I think she's just trying to figure it out and make it work. But I would love to talk to the father and say, how do you feel about the fact that your child's mother just went on the internet and made a viral video, by the way? It got 150,000 views on my page alone. That don't count all the other people that shared it.
You helped it go viral, Boyce.
It wasn't just me. This video is viewed by millions of people.
Uh-huh.
So pay attention now. I want y'all to hear me. How would you feel if you know that your child's mother took it on herself to get on the internet and tell the whole world about how she is paying all the financial responsibilities for your child because she took you off child support. B is looking up jobs for you. That because as if you don't know how to use the internet.
Wait a minute.
You ain't
You
got
wanted to say something else.
you ain't got Wi-Fi on your phone. I'm not gonna talk for him. I'm not trying to diss him or diss her or anything. I can just say that I would never want that to be me. I'd be livid. I'd be like, oh hell no.
Take that down.
Yeah,
Take it down.
I'd be like, take the video down. No, and now I'm gonna do a response video. No, I looked up my own CDL because I know how to use the internet. And no, I am. Here's what I'm paying for my child. I don't know about anybody else in here. Maybe I mean, again, I understand those who are saying that what she did was heroic and that is great. And I saw men saying, yeah, we need more women with this mindset. And I get it, right? You want to have a woman that's gonna have your back. You want a woman that's gonna be supportive. But I mean, shit. You know, if you flip it, if she depended on him to support her the way she's supporting him, she'd be waiting for the rest of her life. It ain't reciprocal. It ain't balanced. It ain't equal. That's my 2 cents. What do you think, babe?
I get the impression that she was talking to her girlfriends. She was complaining about the fact that he wasn't doing what he needed to do, and she was having a co-parenting problem, and she was frustrated. And one of her friends said, girl, let me tell you, get a CDL license. They hiring at the trucking company, and you can start your own trucking business, and you can make this amount of money. And she probably was like, oh Lord, let me hurry up and get him connected. She was almost like um that mom who was worried about her son that can't get right and had to hook her son up with a job so that he could take care of his responsibilities. That's how she sounded to me. She sounded really kind of out there, like I am so frustrated. And I think that she is trying to, in her co-parenting relationship, trying to keep her shit together, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
without causing a scene, without, she wants to set a good example. She wants her son to see, let's just say it's a son or her daughter, to have a really good example. She wants them to see a good example of what a good father can do. She's probably
But
like,
that's
your father is not doing right. She's probably pulling him to the side and saying, look, your children need to see you doing well. How they need to see you going to work every day and doing great. She wants to uphold this image
mm,
that she knows, set a good example. Get a job doing something that I know you can do, driving around a truck. You can get these skills together.
right, and
So
that's what
she
I'm saying. This is nothing more than a continuation of the mother-son relationship that happens in millions of homes across this country.
trying to hold it together.
In millions of homes across this country, where the mother is, is the head of the household, and the son is her responsibility. You see mothers all across this country
Yeah.
saving their sons,
They
right?
hearing about a good job.
Yep,
Well, I was at church the other day and I heard about a
yep,
good so and so's hiring down
yep.
the street.
Paying all of
Paying
paying his bills, even though he's 26. Finding jobs for him.
Yeah.
Taking care of babies that he's making. Getting girls pregnant around the neighborhood. And she's babysitting, bailing, and then in many extreme cases, bailing him out of jail, letting him live in the basement, while he smokes weed and plays Xbox all day.
Okay, so we're creating this whole scenario for
I'm
this
not saying. Don't get
person.
me wrong. I'm not saying
But
that this is everybody.
but we've seen
We know
this.
it's not
We
everybody,
know it's gotta
right?
be.
But we've seen it, right? We know the baby boy scenarios are everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they made the movie Baby Boy, and that's why so many people liked it.
Oh, that movie was awesome.
Yeah,
It really
it wasn't
nailed
like
it.
people saw Baby Boy and were like, "Oh my god,
That
that's
doesn't
so
happen.
rare. That's not realistic." No, Baby Boy was 100% realistic. The son, in some cases, the son becomes the disabled husband, and then the real baby daddy is, it's like, okay, let's keep this tradition going. He's thinking, okay, yeah, just like when I was a little boy, my mama did everything for me. So now I'm a grown man. I need a new mama. So I need you to do everything for me. And you say, okay, absolutely, because that's how I raised my son anyway, and that's the role I see myself having.
So so the video to me seems a little passive aggressive. It seems like I'm putting this video out and everyone's applauding her, but deep down inside, she's giving a dig. She is digging at him. She is talking about him. She's really saying that her son's father is a loser and can't get himself together. And see, that's wrong. You don't want to do that. I'm certain,
like blowing her own trumpet.
I'm certain that his friends saw it, and I'm certain they have had a very hard conversation, and that was her way of getting back at him. She was angry.
And you know what's funny? Here's another crazy point that just came to mind.
Yeah.
If she were a man, like really going out of his way to like really make sure his woman had a job and saying, I'm not gonna make my woman, you know, contribute and all sort of stuff. There are guys who would call her a simp. There are men I've heard that they call that simping when you're doing things for your partner to help them. When you say, hey, I want to make sure that so and so's good. I want to make sure my woman's in good shape and blah 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 blah. I like literally people expect masculinity to come from the black woman nowadays. There are black men who expect the masculine figure in the relationship to be the woman. You're the breadwinner. You're the one who goes out and fixes things. When I drop my seed everywhere, you're the one supposed to take care of it. You know, you clean up my messes for me.
Well, the black woman does this, and they do it. They get it done because it's a survival mechanism. It's necessary. Like, you have to. No one else is doing it. It's falling on me, and I'm doing it. So,
so I think the question would be that I would ask is, what would it take? You know, what would it take to break a cycle like that? Right? Like, how do you break that cycle? Because again, maybe I am old fashioned, but I don't believe in their nature women want to be like macho men. I don't think they want to be the, you know, always be the protector and the provider and the breadwinner and all that. I think that they, you know, they seem a different side of a woman seems to come out when she's able to drop her guard a little bit because she knows she has a good reason to drop her guard because the man that she depends on is able to go handle things. So I wonder what it takes to break that cycle, or if we just accept this new reality that, you know, that I can go out and make a baby and then say I can't take care of my baby, and then because you want to be a good woman, you take me off child support, so you're paying my bills now because bills still got to get paid. People forget that, right? So you're paying my bills and you're gonna help me get a job.
she's investing. So, yeah, I also wonder what would people say if a man got up there and said, you know what? I found my son's mother a cooking class so that she can learn how to cook and clean for my child because I'm paying child support and my son is eating McDonald's every day. This ain't right. That she needs to learn how to cook healthy vegan meals for my son. I'm gonna pay for all the groceries, but she has got to learn how to cook up those meals properly.
Yeah.
Then what?
Wow. Yeah, that would be a diss.
She not clean. I come to the house and the house is a mess. The house is dirty. I don't want my children living in these types of conditions. I'm gonna teach her how to clean. I'm gonna buy her some Lysol. Teach her how to clean a mop.
We go get
some
her.
dish
We're
detergent.
gonna start her off with an easy bake oven.
Yeah, she needs to learn how to cook because she is not doing it properly. Like, would that video go viral?
Ooh, that is so funny.
I mean, what is this? That's like saying, what is he really saying? He's saying she nasty and dirty and can't and isn't providing. So
yeah, that's heavy. By the way, you're watching Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins. This is my wife, Dr. Alicia Watkins. Dr. Alicia is a licensed therapist and a full professor of social work. You can learn more about the work that she does. She sees couples and things like that. So if you'd like to learn more, you can visit coachingwithdralicia.com. So the URL is on the screen. You can also follow on Instagram at Coaching with Dr. Alicia. All right, so let's switch gears for 1 second.
Well, you asked, what are you switching the gears to?
I want to switch the gears and talk about my dad's party real quick.
Weekend. Okay.
So my dad had his 70th birthday party, and that's my father, and I love this man. He raised me. My biological father, we for whatever reason, he wasn't around, but my dad raised me, and we gave him a 70th birthday party, and it had a golf theme, and we found this awesome baker who knows how to make a cake in the shape of a golf ball. Now that's a special talent.
Oh, yeah. Let me tell you, I'm all over the cooking channel or
Yeah.
the bake. I always like the bake offs.
Mm.
Oh, I can sit and watch that all
I wonder
day.
if her baby daddy looked up a baking license for her so she could learn how to bake.
Yeah, you need to do a bake off. I signed you up for a baking competition. You need to get practicing.
Yeah, so these are some of the little golf ball cupcakes, and 260 people showed up. We were really happy, and we got a chance to see our family, so that was pretty cool. And then you and I did a little photo shoot this week. What do y'all
Which
think?
picture are you? Oh my God. Listen, I do not like wearing shorts.
And you look great in shorts. Tell Alicia she looks great in
No,
shorts.
seriously, like, boys, have you ever seen me wear shorts?
You don't wear shorts, and you should wear them more.
No.
Thick thighs save lives.
Thighs were very thick that
Yes,
day.
absolutely. And so so we took a few little
Oh, let me see. Which ones
snapshots.
you put? Oh,
I
okay.
like that one. I like the it's kind of got an old schoolish kind of look like that.
Yeah, I look like I need an apron on.
Yeah, you look cute. You look cute. And then that's my Suge Knight look.
I know that's your serious look. That's a good one.
You like that?
Yeah, I love
Thank
that
you.
one.
And there we go.
Oh,
Let's see.
look at us.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think this is one of my favorites with you. I like that one a lot.
Oh, I had a jacket on too.
Yeah,
Wait, we got a shout out to the photographer. Who's the photographer?
I don't have their name in front of me.
I should grab it because they did a lot of good work.
I know Shari BP events.
Shar at BP
Yeah.
Events put it together.
Hmm.
Our stylist,
Oh, Miss Jessica.
Miss Jessica at Adorn International,
Oh,
Adorn
Jessica's great.
ITL
She's so awesome.
on Instagram. We got to give some credit. The photo credit. We got to give credit to all the people
Yes.
that put it
Yes.
together.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah. So anyway, so that's what we did this past week. That's our life. All right. So back to the lecture at hand, as Dr.
back
Dre
to
used
the
to
lecture
say.
at hand. Okay.
Okay. So let's So by the way, if you just came in, we're talking about this this mom who went on to the internet and told everybody about how she took her son's father off child support, and basically uh, helped him find, like, looked up CDL licenses so he could start a trucking company and all that.
Yeah.
And you want to play the audio one more time? Let's play the audio one
You
more
want me to
time,
play one more time?
and then let's do like one more recap analysis of this, because
Because you
I think.
asked the question. I just want to
Oh,
say
I'm sorry, babe.
you
I did.
asked the question.
What question
You
did I ask
said
you?
what happens? Like, how do we break this cycle? You asked, was it just like a hypothetical,
Rhetorical.
a rhetorical? Is it called a rhetorical question? Yeah. I
Mm.
mean, was it a rhetorical question? You didn't really want to answer.
Well, you know what? How about this? How about you play the audio one more time, and then you answer that question?
Okay.
How do you break that cycle? Because I don't know. I'm not, without being critical of anybody involved with the video, whether it's you're talking about her or her son's father. I am not comfortable with this idea that a grown man needs his with all the other pressure she probably experiences as a single mom, or a mother raising a child without the help of the father, without the father being in the house. Um, I just don't know if that makes sense to depend on her to do all those things. She's going to pay all the bills, and she's finding jobs for you. That almost sounds like she's carrying you to a point.
Okay. You want me to play it or do you
Yeah,
want me to respond?
play
Okay.
the video.
All right. So let me see. Okay, here we go. Watch
And
again.
by the way, I see
So I
y'all's
decided
comments.
to take my son's father off of child support because it was causing turmoil in our co-parenting relationship. Recently, I looked up a few places for him to get his CDL so that he could possibly start his own trucking company, or he can even carry loads and make money for himself. What I decided was, you know what, Brittany, let me change my mindset. Let me help him help us take care of our child. And that's co-parenting. So I decided to take my son.
Yeah, there's something about let me help him help us take care of our child. That is anger.
Mm,
That is frustration.
mm,
That is I'm tired of an excuse every time he needs to come through. Like, she seems to be really upset with him. And it seems to be not just a one off, it seems to be a continuous pattern of him not coming through.
Well, it is interesting because it's like, I see it's rolling. It's rolling. She says
Yeah.
a lot of black men need extra help, and I do
Like
think.
they're deficient.
Well, I think that right, and
He was deficient in some way.
well, I think that there's a value in the fact that of I think recognizing that in America, if you look at the landscape, black women are doing better than black men. Educationally, economically, all of that. Right? I see all the data. And again, this I'm a finance guy, so I'm going to jump into the financials of it. So you have an imbalance, a really awkward imbalance. I believe just almost genetically and instinctually, women are naturally they find a man more appealing if he makes more money and he stuff like that. So you're dealing with a landscape where the women are making more money than the men. So the women have and the men, everybody's kind of trying to adjust to these new roles. And the question is, why is that landscape imbalanced? Well, I think a lot of it does link back to white supremacy, racism,
Yes,
and slavery.
yes. That's where I was hoping that you would go today, Boyce, because it sounds to me as if she doesn't even get this understanding, that black men really have it bad. And it sounds to me as if she approaches him just based on the video and critical, like criticizing him. I'm sure has he 100% never come through? He's probably come through maybe 80% of the time. And that 20%, I find that couples, a lot of my couples and a lot of couples just in general, they focus on all those times you didn't come through. And it's like her mindset, she says she's changing her mindset probably because she's frustrated, but she also should take a chance to lift him up a little bit. It's like if their spirits are down and your person who's involved, I mean, just think about it. If you have a child with someone, that person is in your life forever. Really, and the conversations and the interaction that you have with each other should be lifting each other up and applauding each other. And it just gets into the spiral of criticism, is what I get from her. And no man wants to please a woman who is critical.
Hmm.
And that's something that I always like to reference, that she should say a little, cheer for him a little bit, and not get on her phone and air out her frustration in that way.
Mm. Okay.
She chose that man to have a baby with, and I'm certain that he can't be 100% all bad, but she's making it sound as if he's just really a loser.
Well,
That's what I think.
okay.
And so
That's
it's almost like a backhanded compliment. You know how someone like they complimenting you, but then you think about it after a while, you're like, that wasn't even really a compliment. That was really you kind of like, what are you really saying to me? You
okay.
know,
Okay.
are you
Right.
helping me or are you telling me I'm a moron?
Okay, so let me give a Dr. Boyce, Uncle Boyce perspective on it. Um, I see it every all scenarios have various dynamics, and we all have levers we can pull where we can do more to make the situation better. I think that for her, if she were my daughter, I would probably say next time you choose to even lay down with a man, make sure he's a certain kind of man.
Mm-hmm.
If
Ah, so
if
she
he's a
might be mad at herself.
she could be right, but here's the
Mm-hmm.
thing, right? The pickings can be slim. It can be challenging because remember, you live in a world where black women, on average, make more money than black men, have more education than black men. So it becomes kind of a challenging scenario where I think women are forced to let go of their natural inclination to be attracted to men who make money and have education.
But there's
Because,
mm-hmm.
well, hold on, wait.
Go
Let
ahead.
me make this point. Let me make this
Mm-hmm.
point. And I would probably say to her, you got to be real careful about how you choose because you just see it all the time. You see, you know, people get together, make a baby, and then they're apart. And then the lowest net worth in America is that of a single black mother. That is the lowest
Mm-hmm.
median net worth in this country because you're doing it all by yourself. You're not supposed to be doing everything by yourself. So if she were my daughter, that's what I say. If he were my son, I would say, look, son, we know that if you're going the job route, black women are going to have a leg up on you because you live in a racist society. in America, women will get opportunities that men won't get for the
Wait,
same
wait.
reason
I'm
that
not certain if the stats kind of support that, but go ahead.
well,
I
let,
think
let
that
me
black men in a lot of different ways far better than women. Hmm.
okay, I think that they do well in certain areas, but the go ahead, you make your point, but I gotta make this point, babe. You gotta hear
Hmm.
me. You gotta make sure you hear me on this.
Okay.
Okay. Um, you live in a world where the median income of the black woman is higher than that of the black male, right? So, you know, one of the things that we have to understand is what part of this dynamic can we control and what part can we not control. So the big mistake that a lot of black men are making, I say this as a PhD economist, is that they're chasing jobs. Jobs will never make you equal to the black woman because the white man got that on lock. He's controlling all of that. You got to start businesses. Black men, I was not, I could not be equal to you right now if I had not started a business. If I had stayed in academia, dealing with those racist people trying to chase jobs, I'd be bitter too. I don't even know if I'll be honest with you. I don't even know if I'd even felt comfortable getting married where I'm struggling along, not for any reason, not because I wasn't working hard, but because certain black men like me don't do well in white institutions, right? And I'd probably be a little bit angry if because you got all the raises, all the promotions, all the awards, and and so I just really think for black men listening, you have to find alternative paths. You got to build your own castles. If you want to be a king, you got to learn how to build a castle. So that's my 2 cents. Go ahead, babe.
Okay. I think that there's other ways for men, for fathers to help out in the lives of their children that's outside of financial. You can help out by volunteering at their school, volunteering to be coaches to their teams. Sometimes little boys and little girls, they play soccer, they play softball and baseball. I mean, there's other ways where you can be of value, to your children as fathers. And what I'm happy is that a lot of that is changing. A lot of men are starting to become involved in their school in ways that they weren't before. But there's other ways to contribute that's not necessarily financial. It could just be like, I'm gonna pick you up from school every day and we're gonna go out for ice cream, or we're just gonna go to the park and play at the park. It's the connection that's important. And so connecting with your children, that doesn't cost you really much or nothing, because children don't care about all that. Like, they don't know about the background, and they shouldn't know about the background of whether their father's paying child support or not. They shouldn't even know about that. That shouldn't even be something they should even hear about. All they should know about is, oh, I get to spend time with my dad. And those moments where they spend time with each other, those moments are very important in the life of especially a little boy. Did she say my son's father?
I think so.
That's what's important. I was originally making the point that she wants her son to see his father doing well financially. But I think that what mothers need to also consider is that you also need to see your son and his father make a connection with each other on a personal level. Know what's going on with them from day in and day out. What are their struggles? What was school like today? Tell me about your day. Every day you can call them and talk to them. Calling somebody on the phone nowadays takes nothing. You can call your son on the phone every single day, even if they don't live in your household, and talk to them and say, tell me about your day. Who did you sit next to at lunch? Was anybody mean to you today? And get into it. And then you can develop that type of relationship that is more meaningful than him starting a trucking company or whatever he feels like he wants to do or doesn't want to do. But there's other ways to contribute that's just as valuable as money.
Okay, so I hear that, right? So now I want you to let me say this. Don't interrupt
Okay.
me now.
Hmm.
I think that one difference between you and I is you are an emotional connection based kind of person. Connections are really important for you, and I respect that, right? And that has helped me to see the world in a certain way that I really appreciate. Right now, the way I was raised is before you start talking about emotional touchy feely connections and picking up the child for ice cream and all that, somebody got to make sure the baby got a pair of shoes on his feet.
Hmm.
Somebody got to make sure who's going to pay for the damn ice cream. Like that's me again. Your area is social work. You are a social worker. I'm not a social worker. I am a finance professor. So
Mhm.
I'm thinking about the money, and I'm a black man, and I'm not a finance professor who happens to be black. I'm a black man who happens to be a finance professor. So I see everything through the lens of maleness, race, and economics. That's how I see a lot of things first, right? So when I look at it that way, I'm looking at it as okay, you know what? I agree, right? Those fathers who have that ability to be empathetic and things like I have a hard time doing that. I have a hard time talking to our kids and saying, "Who sat next to you at lunch? What did you eat for lunch? Was the spaghetti good?" Those are conversations that I don't typically have with other men. We just don't. We don't want to know what you had for lunch. We really don't. Listen, hold on.
Okay, I don't know
No,
when you're done with your
no, no.
point.
Well, you gotta let me make
Okay,
it now.
keep
You gotta let me
going.
make it. You gotta let me make it. So it's a there's a different way of like when I look at what my responsibility is in this house, it's not always going to be what you think my responsibility is. Like how you view me as a man is not as important as how I view myself as a man. So when I'm thinking about things as a man, yeah, sure, I'm thinking about the things you talk about. All those things you mentioned matter, but there's some areas where I delegate that to the mom, and I say, you know what, it's up to your mom to really sit down with you and have certain touchy feely conversations. I'll be there for a minute, but then I got to go do work because I need to make sure that we are getting stuff done on the business side, or make sure that the front door is locked so nobody can get into the house or whatever, right? So what I would just say in general is that mothers, what mothers do, black mothers that are making it work are absolutely heroic, right? And I have so much respect for them, and also black fathers and men who are doing their best with what they have in front of them. Shout out to all of you, right? Because we
Mhm.
know the children matter, the children come first. But I think overall there is a disturbing type of dysfunction that exists within many of our families for at least a couple reasons. One is that almost none of the families are sticking together. 76% of black children don't have a father in the house waking up with them every morning. I think that makes a difference. Number two, I see too many scenarios where uh, where there are things that each parent could do to make things better, and they're not doing it. As fathers, I would probably say to this guy, if he was my son, I'd say, son, you're kind of getting punked out here. Like she literally is out here telling everybody that she helped you get a job as if you're a child. You can go get your own job. You can at least do your best, right? Like you can't. You may not necessarily be able to go make yourself a millionaire, but you can get up off your ass and do your best.
Okay, I'm just curious. How did you feel in those moments where your dad said, "Hey, boys, let's go out and play baseball"? How did you feel in those moments when
Oh, I
he
oh I loved
when
it.
he spent time with you?
It was awesome.
What did it do to your esteem?
It was great.
How did it make you feel like I'm so
Yes,
important because this man took time out to
yes.
spend?
Oh, I loved it.
Say more about it.
No, it was great.
I mean, it felt really good, and so neurolo so as social workers, we learn about brain development and we learn about child development. And you mentioned that that emotional connection is something that's just a feminine thing. And I think that now's the time when we need to start getting out of that
I
mindset.
wouldn't say it's just a feminine thing.
Okay, so
I
that's
didn't. Now, mind you, I did not say it's just. I said it's more of a. Women are more emotional than men, and according to most measuring sticks, when there are things mothers can do, and ways mothers can connect with children, that fathers have a difficult time doing. I can't talk to our children the way you talk to them. I can't. The way you are, the way you connect with the girls is different from how I connect with the girls. you
mhm.
know um as a man, I can tell you straight up, I care more about being respected than I care about being loved. I never felt like it wasn't. Don't get me wrong, not to say love doesn't matter, but if I had a choice, which would you rather have, love or respect? No, I want respect first.
Well, they go
If
to
you love me and don't respect me,
they can't exist apart, like love and
I think
respect.
they can. I think they can.
Okay, so love and respect, I think in a business sense, okay, maybe that makes sense. But I think that in your with your family and the people who are important to you and close to you, those things really matter the most. To have that love and respect together, and part of that is making a connection. And I think that men need to understand that they are also valuable in conversations where they talk about how people feel. You know, you
Right.
saying men have feelings just as much as human beings. Human beings on this earth, we all have feelings.
Right.
You know, and so a lot of men are taught, they're taught and given signals that men don't have feelings and they don't feel as much, and that's more of a woman sort of thing. And I think that sort of idea needs to be taken away from, because a lot of the clients I see in my office, some of them are coming because they did not have that type of validation from their father. They did not have those father issues. They did not have their father to be able to connect with them on an emotional level. And I think fathers can do it, and they do it on a lot of different ways. And that makes them feel complete and whole, not just somebody who just brings home a check.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
I'm not
And
saying.
your brain, what it does to the brain is neurological. It's saying, wow, this person cares about me, and I can trust this person emotionally. I can trust my father emotionally to be there for me when I need him to be,
I don't doubt that those things are important.
in his
I
way.
don't doubt that those
Hmm.
things are important. I agree. But
Hmm.
this weekend when I gave a speech at my father's birthday party, I didn't get up there and say my dad was a loving man. I didn't get up there. I said, I flat out told them, I said, if I was to tell you that my father was always a good man, I'd be lying to you. I'd be lying. If I said, because y'all know my daddy. Y'all know he wasn't always a good man. But then I started telling stories about how my father got pushed out of an airplane in Vietnam and survived. He slept in a ditch and said, I'm going to do whatever I got to do to survive, to get home. My father wasn't always a good man, but he was a great man. When he walked away from heroin and chose to raise a family and to be there for us every day. When a lot of these dudes out here just making babies and living
Hmm.
their life, he did this as a 22-year-old. I said, he's a great man. He raised me from the age of 3, even though I wasn't his biological son. He's a great man. I saw him. He had to kill a man one time. To save the life of a stranger. I said, he's a great man.
He's a
So
hero.
right. So here's my
Hmm.
point. Here's my point I'm going at. I'm not saying that emotions don't matter, but if my father were an emotional little teddy bear who, got squeamish in every difficult situation, I would have less respect for him than I do now. So I sat there and I said, look, maybe we weren't, lovey-dovey father son in that way, and maybe that could have been done better for sure. But I said, my father is a great man and a juggernaut to me because he
He is
taught
a great
he taught
man.
me how to survive
Hmm.
in this world as a black man. A lot of these brothers out here might have got all the love in the world, but some of them got coddled. They got coddled by mothers that thought more about their emotional well-being than they thought about their ability to survive. It's hard to survive in this world when you're always leaning on emotionality as the
Okay,
number
hold
as
on.
as the
That's
default
different.
mechanism that you
Leaning
focus on.
leaning on emotionality is definitely not right. Like when you're in Vietnam and when you're fighting a war and you're in warlike conditions, that's not the time to lean on lean on emotions, right? But
Mhm.
there are times where you do need to be in connection with them. And I think that when you are taught to put your emotions aside, that's not normal for humans. We should
Right.
not, it's not normal to be in violent situations. That's not something that that comes across. It's something that we need in order to thrive. So your day-to-day life, I guess if there's just a violent situation, you have to do what you have to do, but your day-to-day life can't be high violence like that, because it will cause you to go crazy.
That is true. Yeah, yeah, and,
And
and and my dad talks a lot about PTSD. He's straight up got it. He talks about when he had to kill that man to save that family's life. He says he couldn't sleep. He had to take sleeping pills. You
mhm.
know, um, and so I learned from my
Is that
father.
the only thing he did? Just take sleeping pills? Did he
Probably
do other stuff? I
maybe
wonder.
he did other stuff. I don't know, but
Because
here's my point though.
all right.
My point is that yeah, there's a price to being a warrior, but somebody's got to be the goddamn warrior. You need somebody to be willing to say, you know what, I know my life isn't touchy feely. I know that my emotions might be a little jacked up,
Hmm.
but I got to do what I got to do to protect this family because I've seen people go too far to the other extreme where they're so focused on the emotional stuff that whenever things get hard, they ball up and cry and they say, "Oh, it was too hard." That's why I left my family, because it was just too emotionally difficult for me to figure out how to take care of all these kids. My father was the kind of person who said, "Stop bitching. Do what you got to do." And maybe that's dysfunctional for me to admire that, but I admire the shit out of that. You know why? Because that's what gives me courage every day. That's why I deal with the whole internet. I've had times where 100,000 people tried to come down on my head, and I said, I'm not folding in none of this because I'm the son of Larry Watkins. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that there's a need for that, right? There's a balance. There's a yin and a yang that women and men provide. When I want a soft, nurturing experience, I come cuddle up next to you and those
You do.
soft, sexy curves you have, and I lay on your lap like a little baby and let
He
you rub my head,
does. Okay,
and I
y'all. He
love it.
really does all of that.
Yes, yes, I can go in that space and I love it, and I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate you for that.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't live there because I'm a man.
Mm-hmm.
Men and women are different.
They are different. But you need to have an avenue to connect with your feelings.
Mm,
And what's happening, what we're finding is that all of these men in particular who just die of a heart attack or
mm,
have all of these physical health
yeah.
conditions, what we're finding is that they're experiencing a lot of things emotionally and they're not connecting with them, and it stays in the body, and it comes in the
Yeah.
body and it comes up
Oof.
as a sensation that is the reason probably why a lot of black men die early of all of these,
Yes.
all
You
of
you
these sort of
telling the truth.
diseases.
You telling the truth, and you're right, and
It's
and
unhealthy.
really, and that just to me, what you just said, that was a great point you made, because it connects to the overall dysfunction and the challenge of being black in America. Yeah, the black man is at war every day. Just the world is just kind of a crazy place, but black women are at war with us too. Y'all been in this, we've been in the same boat, and the same way you talked about a lot of men dying early from stress and anxiety and depression and stuff bottled up. Well, a lot of black women bottle it up too. That's where
Hmm.
that whole strong black woman thing comes from. I think being called strong is a
We
compliment.
need to let it go. No,
Well,
it is not a
I think no,
compliment.
listen. No, I think listen. But here's
I
the thing.
don't like that
I
word.
think strong is a compliment, but you don't want to overdose on strong. And I think that's what you're saying. You don't want to OD on it to the point where you sort of don't allow yourself, as you said, to connect to your emotions, to allow other people to help you, to look for people that can help you. Like you talked about that. You one time you said to me, you said, "Boyce, you're always trying to help so many other people. Why don't you get people around you who can actually help you?"
Hmm.
And that was an example of me always focusing on being the strong one instead of
Hmm.
leaning on community and family and others that can actually support me when I'm
Yeah,
when I'm tired.
it was a big deal that I had played that audio on my phone.
Hmm.
I think that was a big deal because normally you would not have wanted me to, you wouldn't have wanted to trust me to be able to figure it out, which I did kind of
Hmm.
stumble. Okay, so you trusted me and I did stumble with playing the audio. You made me play it 3 times.
No, you did good.
And I did okay, but I think it caused, like, how did you feel about it? Were you just kind of worried that, oh
No,
God, Alicia's going to mess up this audio?
no, it's not really like that. It's more
How did
so.
you feel
It's
about
more
that?
so like like in the world I live in, most spaces I'm in, I'm the boss. Like I do, the meeting starts when I get there. There's a lot of privilege that comes with kind of controlling your environment, but there's a lot of pressure. When the buck stops with you, when you have to come through for so many
Oh, it
people.
comes down on your head for
Yeah,
sure.
and to that point, and one of the things I can say that I definitely benefited from in terms of learning from your perspective is it does help to be able to say, well, what about me? Why I'm going to make sure I nurture myself as much as I nurture everybody else, and I think all of us can learn from that. The warriors out here, the male, because we got male warriors and we got female warriors. We got strong black men out here that are taking on the world. You need to connect to your emotions so you can remain balanced. We got strong black women that are taking on the world, doing it all by themselves.
Wakanda.
Helping their
Wakanda
helping
forever.
their baby daddies find jobs and everything. And I would just say to women like that, maybe next time, if you have a child with a man, see, maybe you can find a man that can actually add value. Because sometimes when sometimes you can get social. Remember,
Find a man that can add value. Like, again, I don't want to get back into our previous little debate, but I think all people can add value. And there had to have been something about this man that she fell in love with or had a certain connection with, and it somehow fell apart because clearly they didn't seem like they were together. Why didn't they get married? Why didn't they get married?
Well, because
Why?
marriage ain't for
Well,
everybody,
I
Alicia.
know it's not for everybody, but why have children with if this sort of are we
Yeah, my alarm
your
just went
alarm's
off.
going off? The thing is, because you just created a scenario where you're saying, God, it's so nice that my dad was there. You just talked about how great your dad is, and he is great. I'm signing on to that, right? And so he was great because he was there for his family. Why is this man not there for her and her son? Like, how is it that the two
Well,
of them weren't able? So I'm asking. So it is a rhetorical question that I'm asking, but
mm-hmm,
what I'm saying is that what happened between the two of them, that
mm,
it's just kind of unraveled. And I got the sense that she was kind of coming down on him. And I think that when you come into this idea that black men, black women, we have it hard out there, but inside our homes we need to be nice to each other and lift each other up and build each other up, and children need to see that happen. That's how you break the cycle, which
mm,
was your question,
mm-hmm.
is that let the kids see that, wow, this man who's half of me, this mom who is this dad who's half of me, and this mom who's also half of me love each other and love me. And they can provide financially. We know that's important, but really, children just want your time and attention. That's resources that they really want. And so that's how you break the cycle, Boyce. You asked the
Mm-hmm.
question.
Well, I'm not saying that you're wrong. I mean,
Love the children in your home. Love the parent. Love the person. You loved them at one point. What happened that
well,
broke it down?
and I
Hmm.
think, and because again, this is the mathematician in me coming out. Where I know 2 plus 2 is going to be 4.
Accept each other. Love each
So,
other.
so my thought is the things that you value are the things you're going to work on, and things you're going to protect. So, your family should be high on your value list, right? So, if I value my family, I'm going to invest in making sure my family stays together, right? That means maybe if that means getting some help, some therapy, reading books together, uh, learning learning the tools for staying connected, because I think that's the big part of it. I think that if you think of relationships as these things that are just going to work just because you're in one, we know that that's not true. It takes a lot of compromise, and I encourage people that really want to go in that direction. Don't absorb this energy on the internet. You have a lot of people on the internet with big microphones who tell you never compromise, never settle, never whatever. No, you when you're trying to make something work with another person, you're gonna be settling and compromising all the time. And why do you compromise? Well, you compromise because you have a bigger objective. The bigger
Yay.
objective is that we're stronger together, and
Yes.
one thing I can appreciate about you is, we are able to have teamwork. We work together and do things that we could not do easily by ourselves or alone,
No.
right? and uh
Praises due to
and we're
you,
able to
boys.
receive that, right? Well, to you too, so I
And
would.
just think, if you came home every day and I showed you lots of gratitude and lots of appreciation, it's going to want to make you go out and work harder.
Mm,
And that's the thing, like the answer is not to find you a job to let you know you inadequate and you need to get this job because you inadequate. you know
mm.
but the thing is to cheer you on, to give you hand claps. And I'm your number one fan. I'm your biggest fan. Nobody's a bigger fan than I am to you. And I want you to feel that. I don't want to just have to say it. I want you to feel that, oh, I know Alicia's my biggest fan. And so that makes you want to go get
Well,
that CDL. That's going to
well,
make you want to get that CDL license,
mhm.
boys, and start your trucking company and go out and carry the loads.
Perhaps, but it depends on what kind of man I am. That's the thing. That's what I would say.
Well,
And
this is
or and
how
or generally speaking,
relationships work,
no.
though.
But pay attention now. Pay attention. That
Uh-huh.
this is what's important, right? Like when you're choosing who to love, you gotta look at how they're gonna receive your love. Sometimes we get disappointed in relationships because we offer the best love to somebody who can't receive it. Like like there are lots of men who out there who say, "Don't be a simp. Don't be no simp. Be opening doors for women and being nice to women because these hoes don't appreciate it when you nice to women." Guys that talk like that. Well, those are guys who don't understand. No, you're supposed to be nice to a woman. You're supposed to open the door for her. You're supposed to help her out. You're supposed to, do, be chivalrous. You just picking the wrong women. You picking women that don't know how to respond to it and appreciate that. You're picking women that think that that's a sign of weakness.
What's the wrong woman? Like
The
I
wrong
think.
woman is a woman who doesn't know how to be loved. And I've seen this. I've seen women, perhaps
Mhm.
because their self-esteem is not intact, they will like you less because you like them so much.
Okay, because you know what, Boyce, like you such a great, you are such a great husband. Like for real, a great husband.
Thank you.
You didn't come this way.
Okay.
Like I don't know how many wives out there. If I was one of those, is like, oh, he did this, he did this, he got to go. If I had that sort of attitude, you would never become a great husband. I think that it's a way in which you um interact with someone and show that it doesn't all of those little things don't matter. It's the big things that matter. And so um
But remember though,
and if you had married a different type of woman, maybe not, it would turn out this way. But
well, what you got to understand is that I thought
yeah.
about I when I selected you as my wife, I thought about it very carefully to make sure you were the right kind of person who was ready to receive the kind of love I know that I'm capable of giving. That's the thing,
You wait, in the
right?
voice of Whitney Houston, you give good love,
Well,
Boyce.
the thing is, think about it. No, I'm just going to tell you. I think that people, especially younger people, they have to hear the truth about this kind of stuff. I know what kind of man I can be when I'm at my best. I've seen myself at my worst. I've seen myself at my best. If you were to talk to 5 different women who dated me throughout my life, you might hear 5 different stories about what kind of man I am in terms of how kind I am and all this other stuff. I calibrate it based on how much I value that situation. And I know I don't know how that sounds to people, but it's true. I believe that there's no such thing as a man who's always good or always bad. It depends. It's like if you got a job that's paying you $1 million a year, you're going to conduct yourself differently from a job that's paying you 10,000 a year.
Okay, so you weren't stringing women along, were you?
I don't think I was, but you know what?
Would they say, "Boy, strung me
You know
along,"
what? I have no idea what they would say, but I will say this.
making me think
No,
one
no, no. But
thing?
listen, I
Okay.
will say this. When I married you, I wanted to be with you, and I really desired you, but that desiring you was not enough to make me want to give you the power that comes with being my spouse. Um, there was a vetting process where I had to say, okay, if I come in here and I'm really trying my best to be kind to this woman, is she going to see that as a good thing, or is she going to spit in my face?
Yeah. So
Because
vetting
you got
process.
because I've seen, I learned that because I saw that. I dated a woman a long time ago who was actually in a PhD program. She's going to be a professor just like you. Um, where I noticed that the nicer a man was, the less she would like that man. So for her, I said, okay, if I'm too nice to her, she's going to dump me or she's going to start tripping. So I wasn't very nice to her.
Did you like her though?
I liked her, but she wasn't the right one.
I think that you could have gotten, even if those relations, because that's a relationship
I didn't
issue.
want to get married at that time, just so you know.
Okay, I understand, but I understand you didn't want to get married, but I'm just saying, like, don't just dump somebody just because they. I mean, everybody's a work in progress,
Yeah,
and hmm
right.
you gonna say
Okay.
something?
Well, but you can only choose one spouse.
Right.
Right. So it wasn't like I didn't think that she was a quality woman for somebody else. Maybe some other man chose her to be his wife, but I didn't choose her. I didn't want to choose her because to me, in my view, I always saw marriage as a sacred responsibility, a huge investment in another person, a massive risk that person could destroy you. So no, I wasn't going to trust a big button to smile. I believe any man or any woman who values yourself, you value
Hmm.
your career, you value your dreams, you value your goals, and you got something to protect. Take your time before you allow people into your life, even
Yeah.
if they're just going to be your friend.
And part of it is trust your judgment too. You got to trust yourself. Some people just doubt. They doubt that they can pick the right person, and they get kind of crippled. in that. And so just trust yourself. And just because, like, I don't know, I don't know how I feel about this whole red flags, red flags. I mean, I think it is important to vet somebody and to have red flags and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also important to keep in mind that all of us have baggage that we're bringing into a relationship.
That's true.
And, I'm not one of those people who believe that you shouldn't be in a relationship until you get yourself together. I think part of getting yourself together is being in a relationship. You can work out some of your issues in a relational way. And so, and then even if the relationship fails, you can still look back on that and reflect and say, okay, here's what I've learned, but I'm still gonna be brave enough to go out there again.
Mm. All right.
It's a leap of faith. You can't you vet people, but at the same time, you can't really wait out all the scenarios of which to know how someone's gonna react.
Yeah. Well,
It's a leap of faith.
I always had a 2-year rule. I was spend.
Yeah, 2 years is great.
Yeah, I figured two
Yeah.
years is enough time for me to know if you're an asshole or not, and and to see you in enough different, you know, situations to see how you respond to different scenarios, and that really just came from statistics. As a statistician, that's how you learn how something operates as you get data.
That's true.
So
I'm a
I
statistician too, by the way.
I know you are.
I have a master's degree in
You know,
stat
I know that, baby. I know you know your
statistics.
statistics.
Not everybody knows that though.
Oh well, I
You
know.
better learn
Well,
today. I suffered through six. Actually, those courses were really fun, but I suffered. I can say suffer in a light sort of sense. Suffered through 6 stat courses, boys, and
wow.
partly due to you because you helped me with my
Yeah, I
math
was
and
your math
stats.
tutor. I tutored her for free back then because I wanted to get a chance to talk to a pretty girl all day. But anyway, okay, so that's enough. All right,
All right.
we're gonna go ahead and shut it down for today. If you want to learn more about what Dr. Alicia does, she does see couples. She's a licensed therapist and a full professor of social work. You can visit coachingwithdralicia.com. The URL's on the screen. You can also follow her on Instagram at Coaching with Dr. Alicia. If you could, please hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Also, if you'd like to subscribe to this podcast from wherever you're listening, you can subscribe to Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Alicia by going to boyceandaliciatv.com. Or you can follow us on Instagram at Boyce and Alicia. So take care, guys. God bless you. It was great talking to you, and love you. See you soon.
And be kind to each other. Be gentle with each other, please.
Amen.
Amen.
Bye. See y'all later.